something has been rising in you these last few days. A quiet knowing you cannot yet put into words. You feel it in the pause before sleep comes, in the way an old question keeps drifting back once the house goes still. You may have told yourself you are only tired, only imagining things. But you are not imagining this. In the hours ahead, the sky does something rare, and a truth you have carried half in the dark begins to find its light. What you are sensing is real. Stay here a while. They could not let your shoulders come down from around your ears. There is nowhere you have to be for the length of this. The day is behind you now, and whatever it asked of you, you carried it all the way here to this chair, this quiet, this small pool of lamplight. The evening is yours. You already know the feeling this is about because you have been living inside it. It is the sense that something true is working its way up toward the surface. A thing you have half known for a very long time, circling just out of reach, like a name resting on the tip of your tongue that will not quite come. You cannot force it into focus, yet it will not leave you be either. It waits at the edge of the kitchen while you fill the kettle. You feel it riding along beside you on the drive home in the dark, and it surfaces in that soft hour between lying down and sleep, when the mind finally stops performing for anyone and starts telling itself the plain truth. There is a difference between anxious noise and this kind of knowing, and some part of you can already tell the two apart. Worry spins and repeats and grows louder the more you feed it. This other thing is far quieter than worry. It does not demand anything from you. It only stays, patient as a smooth stone dropped down into a coat pocket, waiting for you to go still enough to feel its shape. If what you carry these days has that patient quality, the sense of something waiting rather than something chasing, then you can trust it. That steadiness is the mark of a truth on its way up, and never a fear on its way in. Maybe it shows up for you as a restlessness you cannot explain, a low hum running under an ordinary afternoon. For some it comes as a memory that keeps returning, a little softer each time, asking to be looked at gently rather than shoved back down. Or it is a conversation you keep rehearsing in the shower, a decision you keep turning over without ever quite landing, a truth about someone you love that you have known for far longer than you have let yourself say out loud. Whatever shape it wears for you, hear this plainly. You are not making it up. You are not being dramatic, and you are not losing your grip on things. Some steady part of you is reading this moment correctly, running a few steps ahead of the words that would explain it. That kind of knowing tends to arrive before a person feels ready to say it aloud. It comes as weather in the body before it ever comes as language in the mouth. And there is a reason it is sharpening now, in these particular days, and the reason is hanging in the sky above your own roof. These are the final hours before the second eclipse of this season. On the night of the 27th of August, sliding into the small hours of the 28th, the full moon in the sign of Pisces slips almost all the way into the shadow of the earth. If your sky happens to be clear, you can walk out your own back door and watch it unfold. The round, bright moon slowly dimming and warming until it glows a deep reddish orange, hanging low and heavy over the rooftops and the bare tops of the trees. None of this was invented by anyone to sell you a mood. The earth, the sun, and the moon are falling into one straight line, the way they have since long before there was a single person here to look up and wonder what it meant. The meaning that people have read into that line has changed 1,000 times over, across 1,000 places and 1,000 years. Yet the sight itself has never once changed. The same moon, the same shadow, that same slow red bloom spreading across its face. There is a reason these particular hours are worth your attention. The clearest part of this entire event does not wait for the moon to redden at all. It arrives first, before the shadow has even touched the moon, while the sun is still high and the sky is still an ordinary blue. That first part is easy to miss because nothing about it looks like an event. No shadow, no red, no crowd out in the street with their phones raised to the sky. The most important hour of these 2 days slips by in plain daylight while people go about their errands, never once guessing that the sky has just done its quiet work. But you will know to watch for it now. About half a day before the moon enters the dark, a smaller and far quieter meeting takes place up in the daytime sky. The planet Mercury moves into the exact heart of the sun, in the clear-eyed sign of Virgo. The two of them draw so close together that Mercury all but disappears inside the blaze of the sun's own light, standing right there at its burning center. There is an old word for this rare moment. The sky readers of long ago called it Kazemi, which means in the heart of the sun. It does not happen often, and it does not last long, only a small handful of hours. In that narrow window, the tradition holds that Mercury is at its strongest, not scorched away by the sun, but sheltered deep inside it, the way a small flame carried close against a great fire is kept safe by the very heat that should have swallowed it whole. What looks from the outside like being lost turns out to be a kind of being protected. What that hour has always been known for is clear, seeing, a short spell when the mind sees plainly, with the usual fog lifted away from around it. Mercury is the part of the sky the old readers tied to thinking, to talking, to the small bright click of a thing finally making sense. And here it sits in Virgo, the sign of clean detail, of sorting the true from the merely loud, of catching the one small fact that changes all the rest. For a few hours the haze thins right out, and the water of the mind goes still enough to let you see the bottom. This is why a truth may be surfacing in you across these 2 days. Something long felt and never named can finally find the words it was waiting for. A conversation lands, and this time it stays landed instead of sliding off. A piece of information clicks into a slot that seems to have been shaped and waiting for it all along. You understand, at last, why a certain thing happened the way that it did. And the understanding arrives feeling less like fresh news and more like remembering something you already half knew. It might be small on the surface. A single line in an old letter that reads differently now. The quiet reason behind a choice someone made years ago. The name for a feeling you have carried around, wordless for most of your life. None of it needs to be grand in order to be true. The clear hour is never loud. It only hands you the one plain thing you were finally ready to receive, and the order of it matters more than you might guess. The clear thinking comes first, in the daylight hours before anything darkens. The feeling comes only afterward, once the moon dims that same night. First you see it, plainly, in the blue of the afternoon. Then, later, out under the shadow, you feel the full weight of what it was you saw. That is the shape of these 2 days, laid end to end. It may also be the exact shape of what is moving slowly through you as you sit here and listen. There is a real kindness in that order, when you rest on it a moment. The sky lets you see the thing in daylight first, with a clear and steady head, before it ever asks your heart to feel the weight of it in the dark. You are handed the fact while you are still strong enough to hold it. Only later, under the red moon, does the feeling come to meet what you already understood. Understanding first and feeling second is a gentler way to receive hard news than a person is usually granted. There is one more piece to all of this, and it happens to be the reason a truth like yours can catch you so completely off guard. At the same time as everything else, the restless planet Uranus stands off to one side at a hard, tense angle, pressing at once on the sun, on the moon, and on Mercury as well. In the old tradition, Uranus is the planet tied to the sudden and the unexpected, to the jolt of surprise that arrives from the one direction you happen not to be watching. So if a truth does come for you across these days, you may not see it approaching until it has already arrived. Not through the front door you were standing guard beside, but in, through a small window you had long ago forgotten was even open. A message you did not see coming. A stray fact that cracks an old story wide open and gently rearranges everything that was stacked up behind it. Someone says a single plain and ordinary sentence to you, and a year of quiet confusion drops into clean order in the space of one breath. The unexpected carries a strange mercy in it too. A truth you go out hunting for, you brace against and argue with, and bargain down to a size you can manage. A truth that arrives sideways, before your defenses are up, tends to land clean and whole. There is less time to soften it, and so less chance to talk yourself back out of what you plainly saw. Sometimes the side window is the kindest way in. You do not need to brace yourself against any of it. You only need to leave a little room for the reveal to be real, and to allow that it might arrive from somewhere you never thought to look. The old readers would say, the sky means you no harm in this at all. It is only being honest with you, and honesty does not always knock at the front door before it comes in. By now you may well have seen the name going around for this one. A great many people are calling it the blood moon. It is a striking name, and it does pull people outside to tip their heads back and look up, which is no small thing on its own. But the honest truth of it is a little gentler than the name would have you believe, and in its own soft way, it is rarer still. What you will really see that night is a deep partial eclipse. About 96% of the moon slides down into the dark inner shadow of the Earth. Almost the entire face of it takes on that borrowed glow, which is the light of every sunrise and every sunset on Earth gathered up at once, bent around the curved edge of the planet and thrown softly out onto the moon. But along one thin edge, a bright rim never quite goes out. A slender sliver of plain silver moonlight holds on the entire time, sitting there right beside all of that red. A true blood moon is a total eclipse, where the full face of the moon goes red and no ordinary light is left anywhere on it. This one stops a hair short of that mark. The most honest name for what is coming is an almost blood moon, and that very near miss is the loveliest part of it all. You are watching the moon come within a whisker of vanishing completely into red, and hold back at the last possible moment, keeping one bright thread of itself lit for you the entire way through. Red disk, silver rim, side by side, like a coal with one edge still catching the light. That thin lit edge is the entire reason this one earns the word rare. In a total eclipse, the moon drowns completely, all of it red together, even and beautiful and gone. Here the shadow leaves a single bright seam behind, and the eye cannot help but travel to it, the way it travels to the one lit lamp along a dark street. You are not likely to see the moon wearing quite this look again for a very long while. Let that near miss be the true wonder, rather than a grander name borrowed from a grander event. And here is one plain reassurance, because it truly does matter. Unlike an eclipse of the sun, an eclipse of the moon is completely safe to watch with your bare eyes. No special glasses, no dark filters or shaded lenses of any kind, nothing at all standing between you and the sight of it. You can stand at your own window in your socks, or wander out into the cool of the yard, and look for as long as your heart wants to. The only real thing you risk is turning in a little later to bed than you had planned. There is a reason this particular eclipse lands the way that it does, and it has everything to do with the sign of the sky it falls in. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, the very end of the long circle. It is the one the old readers handed over to endings, to water, to memory, to the slow, patient work of letting a thing finally go. It is the deep end of the pool, the quiet place where the hard edges of things dissolve so that something else can begin again, clean and unwritten. An eclipse landing here was always read as a closing far more than as any kind of opening. And this is no ordinary Pisces eclipse. Since 2024, a long run of eclipses has been crossing back and forth along one single line of the sky. The line that joins Pisces to its opposite sign of Virgo. Season after season they have kept returning to that same axis, turning the same handful of themes over and over like smooth stones worn down in the bed of a river. This coming one is the very last eclipse of that entire run to fall in Pisces, the final one. After this night, the door on this side of the sky swings gently to a close. So if it feels as though something is ending for you, some chapter you have been dwelling within for a couple of long years now, some weight you have been carrying a very long way down the road, that feeling is not random noise in you. It moves on the same slow tide the sky itself is riding tonight. Something that first began to stir back around 2024 is being set down at last, and you were allowed to set it down. You have carried it far enough and long enough for anyone. Water is the oldest image there is for this kind of ending. A river does not grip the leaf it is carrying. The tide makes no apology for going back out. Pisces asks only that you loosen your hold by a single finger at a time, and let the current take over the part you were never meant to do by force. Whatever you set down across these 2 nights need not be dramatic at all, only real and yours and ready. If you would like a plainer reason not to miss the sight with your own 2 eyes, here is a good one. Even stopping that hair short of total, this is the deepest and most striking eclipse of the moon. anywhere on the entire face of the earth for years yet to come. The next true blood moon, the next total eclipse of all, does not arrive until the last day of December in 2028. So the sky you can step outside and see on this single night will not be matched again for a long stretch of ordinary time. It is worth the cold nipping at your arms. It is worth staying up a good while past when you had meant to. You are not the first person ever to stand beneath a reddening moon and feel, somewhere down in the chest, that it means something. You are joined in that feeling, across an almost unimaginable reach of time, by very nearly every soul who ever came before you and looked up. In the ancient city of Sippar, in what is now the country of Iraq, scribes once pressed their reading of the moon down into soft, wet clay with the cut end of a reed. Across 4 tablets they set out 61 omens drawn from eclipses of the moon, and those tablets are around 4,000 years old. They are the oldest record of their kind that has ever been found anywhere on the earth. They rest today behind glass in the British Museum, and only within the last couple of years were they finally translated in full and understood. For nearly all of the long ages since they were first lifted out of the ground, no living person alive knew for certain what they said. The ones who first wrote it down were not so far from you as the years might make them seem. A watcher on a flat roof in the warm dark, eyes tired, an oil lamp guttering beside a jar of water. Below, a city asleep and trusting. The moon begins to redden overhead, and the watcher reaches for the reed and the soft clay, hands steady from long practice, and sets down exactly what the sky is doing and at what hour. That watcher was doing the very thing you will do on this night, standing under it, taking it to heart, trying with the plain tools of the age to read what the wide sky was saying to the small and sleeping people below. What the clay says is that these watchers took the reddening moon with the deepest seriousness and that they read its meaning with real and patient care. They did not treat every eclipse as one and the same event. They read the message from the exact hour of the night it happened in, from the way the shadow crept across the face of the moon, from how long the darkness lay over it, and from the date it fell upon in their calendar. A different hour meant a wholly different sign. A slower moving shadow meant something else again. It was a language all its own, spoken entirely in shadow and in light, and they took its warnings so much to heart that when a sign looked grave for the king himself, they would seat a plain stand-in upon the throne. An ordinary man would be dressed up in the king's own place, set down there to catch whatever it was the sky was sending, while the true king slipped aside and waited out of harm's way for the danger to pass over the land. That is how heavy the sight of a red moon once weighed on the people standing under it. Heavy enough to move a king right off his own throne. Here is the part worth holding on to through all of it. Those very same watchers, 4,000 years back, with no telescope and no machine of any kind to help them, already understood the one thing that modern astronomy would only much later go and confirm for certain. They knew this could ever happen only at the full moon. Only on the single night the moon stands directly across the wide sky from the sun. And they had it exactly right. What they were patiently reading was the real and honest sky, the very same one you will lift your own eyes up to on this night. There is a deep patience worth admiring in that. Watch after watch, year upon year. The same small handful of people climbing to the same flat roofs, writing down the hour and the shadow and the length of the dark, until a pattern slowly showed itself across all those long nights of clay. They earned their knowledge the slow and honest way, by looking and by keeping careful record of what they saw. The reverence came first, and the science grew up slowly inside of it. You inherit both at once, without lifting a finger. The reading those watchers made was heavy with dread, death and ruin, and the fall of kings and their cities. That part of it you can gently set down and leave behind with them, where it belongs. You do not have to carry their old fears across 4,000 years to your own front step. But keep the other part, the reverence, the plain, steady sense that the sky is worth reading at all, worth stopping the entire household to go and stand beneath. 4,000 years of human beings have looked up at exactly this and felt, deep down in their bones, that it truly mattered. You are only the newest one among them. A word of care before all of this settles down into you. because a night like this one can stir up a great deal at once and stir it up fast. Even a real and true moment of clarity is a thing to mark and to let settle, and not a cue to go and act upon all at once. If understanding does arrive for you across these hours, let it be true without also letting it be urgent. A flash of sudden insight is a fine thing to sleep on for a night. It makes a poor thing to sign your name under at midnight. Whatever it is you suddenly see, it will still be there and still be true when the morning comes, and it will only grow truer for a few days of ordinary daylight settling gently around it. So make no large and lasting choice from a single passing wave of feeling. The very people who read the sky for a living will tell you this exact same thing about an eclipse week. Let the water go fully still before you decide what it is you are seeing down at the bottom of it. Clarity keeps. That is the mercy of it. A thing that is true tonight will still be waiting for you on Thursday, and truer for the wait, and nothing real is ever lost by giving it a few ordinary mornings to prove itself out. And one more plain and gentle thing, said to you with care. Heaviness in the body, or heaviness sitting low in the heart, is a real thing, and it is not always a message being sent down to you from the sky. If a weight settles onto you across these days and will not lift again at all, then reaching toward a trusted person, or toward someone trained and ready to help, takes genuine courage. It is one of the most sensible and softly brave things that a person can ever do for their own good. The sky is no substitute for a warm voice on the other end of a telephone, or a steady hand resting on your shoulder, or a professional who knows how to help you carry a weight down. Reach out toward those things whenever you find that you need them, and reach without a single shred of shame about it. So here, at the end of it, is the honest ledger, the one this quiet corner of the sky will always hand to you straight, with nothing at all hidden. If this night passes over, and no great truth stands up and announces itself to you, if the moon reddens and you find yourself feeling only calm and ordinary and a little bit sleepy, then hear this. That night still counts every single bit as much as a night filled with sudden clarity. A gentle, uneventful evening is no kind of failure at all. No dramatic reveal is owed to you, and not one small piece of it is required of you. Some of the deepest turns a whole life ever takes arrive with no drama whatsoever, months on down the line, so soft and so slow that you only ever catch sight of them by looking back over your shoulder much later. Clarity that comes in softly is still clarity right the way through. There is no test here to pass, no sign you have to earn by feeling the right thing at the right moment. The moon keeps no scorecard. It turns and reddens and turns back again, exactly as it always has, whether you weep at the sight of it or barely glance up on your way to bed. And when you do step outside and tip your head back and look up, remember exactly where it is that you are standing. This is not a message reaching down to single you out from the crowd of everyone. It is the same old sky doing the very same old thing it has faithfully done for every single person who has ever lived and looked upward. You are not the exception here, and you are not the chosen one either. What you are is one more ordinary human being in good and plentiful company, standing exactly where 4,000 years of ordinary people have already stood before you, watching the same moon go dark and go red, and reading its meaning by your own quiet inner light. That is enough. That has always been enough for every soul who came before you, and it is enough tonight for you as well. Rest easy once the watching is finally done. Let the wide sky go on keeping its ancient appointment overhead, while you turn in gently and keep your own soft one with sleep.